Too much light. Just light. Let's see. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is Barbecue's Bonfire, October 24th, 2025. Excuse me. Live, unscripted, unresearched, uncensored, uncomprehensible, incomprehensible. A little kombucha here for the evening. So we are officially getting started here in about 60 seconds. If you're out there watching, I would greatly appreciate a comment. Let me know, who you are. If you're somebody that regularly comments on, hey, what's going on? Weird, fantastic toy adventures. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm glad it's not just me out here speaking into the interwebs. So, excuse me, we're going to get started here. Like I said, that's 8:30. Let's do it. So, this is Barbecue's Bonfire, November 24th, 2025, the official live stream of actionfigurebarbecue.com. Of course, I am Barbecue17, aka Jerry, and it is cool to see some folks on here watching tonight. So it is almost Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody's got big plans. I hope everybody's, live streaming is intimidating. It's new. Fortunately, I do a lot of public speaking, so it's easier sometimes in person than sitting here. And got a lot of podcasting. We used to years ago. The first thing I did really online was the Epic Review. If anybody remembers the Epic Review, which was with my friend the real Brad Bell and aka Andrew Stokes, and we used to podcast, and we started with the site, and eventually I split it off because everybody was kind of doing their own things. And that's why actually Action Figure Barbecue spun out of that. But I did my reviews on the Epic Review and continued to do the podcast for years. But we had to stop kind of doing the podcast a couple years ago. We've tried a couple other things, and it's been a long adventure. But I was gonna say I really do this, number one, because I enjoy it. I enjoy reviewing action figures. I enjoy communicating with folks, on Action Figure Barbecue on my blog over at Blogspot. I know most toy reviewing has moved to YouTube, and of course, obviously, I'm on YouTube right now. But when it comes to looking at action figures, I really find the fact if you can go and see a picture. If you have a picture and you can go back easily to that picture, you can look at accessories. It's just tough for me to do that in video. And I'm always really glad when people come and say they're using, my site to research something, or they're using it to, help, they've bought a collection and they're trying to, put pieces together, figure out who goes with what, or they're almost using it like a checklist, which I'm not that complete on anything. So I don't know if I'm the best checklist out there, but I certainly do. I do try to have, accessories laid out so folks can go in and determine, what's what. I like video reviews. There's quite a few folks I do. I will say even more than video reviews. I do enjoy. I do enjoy the discussion. Actually, one of my favorites right now is I really like Destro as my spirit animal. He's just really funny. He seems like a cool guy, and I like his G.I. Joe coverage and stuff. And it's interesting to look through a whole year of figures like that. It's something I think would be really fun to do with a line. And he's already doing G.I. Joe, the Real American Hero, so well. I really hope he gets into doing some of the later years, because it is interesting to me. And one thing you'll find out about this show, if you watch it, my script is 4 points on an envelope that I just scribbled down. I didn't scramble them. I scribbled them. I scribbled down right before things started. So, this show goes off the rails pretty easily. But, Destro's My Spirit Animal is really covering all of the classic years. And again, the 13, I think, years of the original Real American Hero line, which is incredible. But one of the things that's just so fascinating is when you realize that other than about 2 or 3 years, even after A Real American Hero, 2 or 3 years that Hasbro didn't release any 1/18th scale G.I. Joe figures. I think you've got like one random year. It might be 2000 because they released them through Toys R Us for a while. They did a couple small 2-packs, a couple online. And there might be a couple random years as you get to like in between those movie years, like maybe between, I don't remember if it's between Rise of Cobra and Retaliation, or maybe since Retaliation. And now obviously Super 7 is releasing most of the 1/18th scale G.I. Joe stuff. Hasbro's doing very little except for like what comes with the Transformer sets these days. I think there's a Sergeant Slaughter's Triple T tank is out there. But man, I mean, there is way more G.I. Joe stuff released post the original A Real American Hero line, than there was even during those 13 years. It's crazy. But anyways, I like sites that do a lot of discussion and stuff. Also like, oh my gosh, sorry. Again, not with without a lot of notes. I forget things. I think it might be the Junkman or something. There's a guy that talks about some really random toy lines sometimes, Junkman, and I really enjoy his stuff too. So I don't think you'll see a lot of reviews from me on here. You'll probably see some small reviews, but I'm definitely not going towards YouTube because I do like the permanency for the most part of when you have online reviews and that are set. People can kind of scroll through them at their pace. Easily save a picture, or compare it to something else. So anyways, that's that. It's cool to be here today. So Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures, thank you so much. I'm definitely familiar with you and recognize you, and it's cool to have someone on here. So one thing I've been doing, and I used to do that when I used to do Barbecues Bonfire, is talk about what were my most popular dishes of the week. These are the reviews that were the most popular for me on my blog spot. And most of the time, it's pretty much, it's recent stuff or something that was like a really big day or a figure that seems to be fairly popular. But it is really funny sometimes when something old and random will pop up. And sometimes if I track it back, it comes to like a mention in Reddit or something. And, somebody used it somewhere and now it's like exploding. Like I'll have a review from 2014 that'll have 4.4 million hits or something crazy like that. So what's the most popular reviews this week? Number 6, I think this one's new to the list, is the Mask of the Red Death Phantom from the NECA Universal Monsters line. I love the classic Universal Monsters. I like some of the newer ones too. I like a lot of the newer stuff. Excited to hear about a Mummy 4. Somebody kind of dissed the 1999 Mummy a couple weeks ago on here, but I really like that series. Even the worst of the series, I think, is pretty exciting for a fun supernatural horror popcorn movie or whatever. But the Mask of the Red Death Phantom was one that I did for Re-Halloween, which are those 7 days after Halloween, and it was a cool figure. I love the look of the Mask of the Red Death costume from the classic, Lon Chaney Phantom. And so NECA did a good job. I'm really excited. Excited's not the right word. I'm really interested to see where NECA goes because I feel like they've done all of the big classic monsters that pretty much anybody with the license does. There's still a couple that they haven't done that other places, other folks have done. They haven't done Lon Chaney's Hunchback yet. They haven't done a Boris Karloff, Dr. Jekyll, or Jekyll, I think they say in the movie. But they haven't done, the Mole People yet. And those are ones that Super 7 has done in Reaction. Those are ones that Diamond Select did years ago. No, excuse me. Diamond Select did some of those in their line. They did do the Hunchback. But also Sideshow did them in their Universal Monster line that were the posable action figures. They weren't as well articulated as most things, but there's a lot of things to do there. NECA does do some cool variants and things. They've got the ones based on the Imperial monsters coming out, and I pre-ordered them. I love Universal Monster stuff. I also really liked, I got to learn more about them, but the Lincoln Monsters. Lincoln Monsters were like a company that made these monsters too, and I think they might have made a toy called the Monster Maker. But anyways, there is a Kickstarter line for this here, Monster Maker. I think it ends in a couple days. These are 3 3/4 inch articulated monsters. They're, I think, like 1/18 scale, and they really look cool. I mean, they definitely look like classic monsters via the rack toys that you would have seen at like drugstores and supermarkets, and kind of the cheap section of maybe a KB or something back in the day. But it looks like a really neat line. So if you like them, look them up on Kickstarter. That seems pretty cool. I like that NECA does some of these random variants though for Universal Monsters, but I really want NECA to expand, man. I have figures I want. I would love them to do Aquanetta. I would love them to do Aquanetta was in some of the jungle elements of the movies. A Rondo Hatton figure from the Creeper, the Brute Man, Dracula's daughter would be fantastic. Even some mix-up, like, it's not my favorite take, but Lon Chaney Jr.'s Dracula from Son of Dracula. That'd be cool. One of my dreams is actually to get Abbott and Costello as Chicken Wilbur from Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is not just one of my favorite Abbott and Costello movies, but it's actually one of my favorite Universal Monsters movies. It's really good. Sorry, there's like something blowing in my face here. I think it's like a hair or something. I don't know. I think I got it. So Weird Fantastic Toy Adventure says my wife has the Jada Universal Monsters. Man, the Jada figures were really nice. I've reviewed quite a few of them. Have quite a few of them. Jada, I think Jada kind of did those when they were really just starting to get into more traditional, collector figures and stuff. And some of them are great. I would say most of them are great, especially for the price. I think the real downfall of that line was, I think NECA was just getting started with Universal Monsters at that time. And so they were kind of offering a more, sorry, I'm turning a light off here. Let's see. Is that better? I think that's worse. I don't know. I'm playing with the light. I'm doing like 10 things at once. I think NECA was getting really started. And a lot of people were deciding to go with NECA versus Jada. But Jada did have a lot of, good articulation. They were nice figures. The price was right. And I've picked up quite a few since then. And they actually did the really cool Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi is Dracula from the stage play that he was in prior to being cast in the film Dracula. I will say the figure's not that great itself, but all of the stuff that comes with it is really cool. The packaging is cool. So I definitely have a lot of respect for the Jada line. Their Invisible Man is fantastic. Their Invisible Man is definitely one of the neatest ones that was made. Front of me, I've got a light in front of me, but I've also got a light beside me as well. And then I've got a light above me. I've got 3 lights in my room. So I think this looks better now. Looks better to me. So anyways, we're going to go with this. I'm going to try not to ignore the light the rest of the time, and probably watch over it next time and let someone else watch over it. And it looks like there's a lot of gray in my beard doing this. My beard's not as gray as it looks, but it's got a little bit in there. It's a little bit in there. I've hit 40 2 years ago, so it's got a little bit of gray in there. That's how I remember all these old toys, though. I was there, and of course, there are folks obviously that are much further back than me. That's okay. So that was the number one there. Number 2 was the Re-Halloween 2025 assortment number 4 from Dr. Malcolm's Body Bags by Toad Frog. This was a Kickstarter line. I haven't heard about any new activity on this line yet for like a second series or anything. I've got one more review from this coming up. I did one review live of one of these. I did 2 or 3 that were written, but I do have the head pack still up here on my shelf to be reviewed. So that's coming. It's coming along. The third one here, I guess we'd say 6th. The 4th most popular is Cable from Marvel Legends, the X-Men 97 series. So I do have most of the newest series of X-Men 97 figures to review. There's a couple of them I just kind of like, so much stuff coming out. I don't know how much more I have to say about another Logan or something like that. So I probably won't look at everybody, but definitely characters that have like a really new, unique interpretation, or characters we don't see a lot. So there's more of the X-Men 97 coming. Don't worry. Man, I saw a picture. Somebody had the Sentinel today in some picture online, though, and it looked so cool. I canceled mine just at some point when I was kind of one of those like, man, there's so much stuff coming out. Maybe it was when all the G.I. Joe stuff was kind of hitting, maybe the end of September, beginning of October. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if this hits at the same time, I'm just going to be spending more than I want at the moment. So I might have canceled that. I don't know. Maybe it'll pop back up on there at some point. So, hey, Mike, glad to see you on here. So thanks for popping in. So anyways, yeah, so Cable 97, fourth most popular, third most popular, Dash Rendar. So there's some love for Shadows of the Empire out there. I was in 6th grade, going into 7th grade when Shadows of the Empire came out. And man, those characters like Dash Rendar, my gosh, Dash Rendar and Prince Shizor and Guri and Lebo, man, they are like, to me, just about on the same level as classic Star Wars characters. Because when I was really just getting into Star Wars with Kenner's Power of the Force 2 line, when I was in 6th grade or so, those characters were coming out too, and they seemed to me they were Star Wars characters. So I'm glad Hasbro is starting to do more of these older characters from the previous expanded universe. Now, what was it called? Star Wars Legends. I hope to see more. I doubt it. They do have Kyle Katarn, though, from Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. So they are trickling them out here still, but I think we're kind of seeing a change in the Black Series line. I think we're starting to see much more of a focus on older classic properties rather than a lot of things based on new stuff coming out. Granted, there's not been a lot of new stuff come out this year, so maybe they just had to put in a bunch of older stuff because they didn't have anything new. We'll see what next year brings with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But Dash Rendar seems to be popular. Folks are reading the review. Number 2 is Cobra Commander with the combat armor. People have been reading reviews about Cobra Commander with the combat armor and his, oh my gosh, what does he come with? An iguana that is Naugahyde's iguana that gets turned into Serpentor later, or Serpentor gets merged with him. I'm going to be honest, when you get into the cartoon stuff, I kind of lose my way with G.I. Joe. I remember it. I remember it being on, but I definitely was more interested in the toys and file cards, and then later the comics than I was the cartoon at some point younger. So I've definitely gone back and watched a good bit of the cartoon, at least the Sunbow stuff. I haven't seen much of the Deke. So that was one that kind of just went over my head until I read everybody else, talking about, oh my gosh, they included the iguana that gets turned into Serpentor, which is just insane. Number 1, he's been on here for a couple weeks now. Richard Cristobal King from G.I. Joe the Classified series. People are just still reading a lot about this updated Crystal Ball, which I think is one of the best figures of this year. I just reviewed Monkey Wrench. I just threw it out there, so it's over there, and it's really cool. I love this figure. And yes, Dash Rendar was in the Nintendo 64 game. I did not have it, but a good friend of mine who sadly passed away the week before my daughter was born. But man, growing up, he had Shadows of the Empire, and he would bring it over to my house, or we'd go over there and play it. Just back when we were in middle school, a video game was just felt like such a big commodity. You certainly couldn't even begin to get every game you wanted. And so you really did trade them back and forth, or show up at each other's house. And, sometimes if he would have a game, I wouldn't pick it up because play it over his, or vice versa. And I appreciate it. But yeah, we would play that quite a bit. And I was really surprised to learn that the whole deal with the Dash Rendar's shoulder pads was because in the game they couldn't get his arms to function correctly, or they really didn't figure out, I guess what we're talking polygons, they didn't connect right, so they used the shoulder pads to kind of mask his arms and where they connected. I can't remember. I might have seen that on a review at oafe.net, but I think I also was reading Wikipedia when I was working on my review of it, and I probably saw it over there too. So good old Dash Rendar. I really wish the Black Series figure would have included the cool little blaster that he had in the Power of the Force 2 line, and maybe even the weird backpack with the reused part of the gun was reused from a G.I. Joe gun, I'm pretty sure. I think it was like a remold of something of Ambush's rifle. I think that's correct. Dash Rendar's gun in the Power Force 2 line had some remolds from Dash Rendar's rifle, because shortly before that, Hasbro acquired Kenner, and so they did use a lot of the Kenner molds, or Kenner used Hasbro molds and Hasbro used Kenner molds and stuff like that. So super random. So anyways, let's jump on here tonight. I got a couple things to talk about. I put in the things in the the comment section, or the blurb about it. So number one is really interested to hear your experiences too, but who right now finds themselves going to Ross as often as possible because you're finding really good deals on action figures? Anybody? Anybody? Just me? I hear people joking about it and calling it RossCon now.
Any chance he has, he goes.
Any chance I have, I goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Umbreon 13, popping in the door.
Who just went like...
We did go to Ross. We did go to Ross a couple days ago. You're right. Man, Ross right now. So I guess Ross has probably always had some stuff. I know they're, Ross's closeout clothes and home decor and things like that. And I just don't remember ever getting excited about Ross. But over the past year or more, people have been talking about, finding stuff at Ross. And excuse me, if you go to Ross now, they have a crazy toy section. And it definitely reminds me of going to like a bin store. I don't know if you have a bin store in your area or not. I'm going to say 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where I'm at in North Carolina, between Charlotte and Nashville, bin stores were everywhere. We had bin stores opening left and right. And these places were buying like Amazon returns and Target returns and boxes of stuff that, maybe Target would get in and it was dented and Target would, reject the thing. Well, I think these places were buying them, and you go in there, and the thing with the bin store was they would kind of have everything in places where, hey, on Friday, everything's $10. And then, Saturday, okay, things are, $9, and Sunday they're $8, and they drop throughout the week. And then the next week, by Wednesday or Thursday, stuff's like a buck or, something crazy. And then the next week they restock. We had a bin store near us, and man, I'm going to say this was probably 2021, 2022, might even into 2023, but I would go in there, and they would have Marvel Legends, and they had a big thing with toys, and it was like everything was $5. And if you bought, you bought 4 for or 5 for 20 or something like that. And I remember one time walking in, and it looked like a full case of the classified series Python Patrol Bat was there, and it had just come out, but some of the boxes looked a little creased. So my guess is like maybe Target got one of the cases, the side was smashed in, they rejected it. It goes back on the truck, it gets sold to this place. I don't see a lot of bin stores anymore. We had about 2 or 3 where I'm at, and now they're all gone. So I don't know if, what happened with them, but Ross seems to get stuff in. Now, Ross's, I don't know if I don't see stuff that usually looks like real beat up or damaged there, but it's very random. So obviously, clothing-wise, Ross buys stuff that places are stopped carrying, places have over-ordered, places have, realized it's not selling and they turn it around. But, Ollie's kind of buys stuff evenly. Like, I'm going to say 90% of the time, because I see somebody mentioned there, they wish they had an Ollie's. I have an Ollie's. I actually have about 3 Ollies within a short distance of me. Next, like one town over, my town. And Ollie seems to be, if you go to Ollie's, and if I tell you, hey, I found, this set of Marvel Legends at Ollie's, or this book at Ollie's, odds are if you go to your Ollie somewhere else, maybe even another state, you're going to find the same stuff. I think Ollie's buys at this massive level. So they're getting in fairly consistent, kind of like Big Lots used. I'm going to say like Big Lots before they closed. That seemed to be somewhat like Big Lots did, although Ollie's is more true closeout. So maybe like Big Lots in the 2000s through the 2010s. I think that's how Big Lots operated. But I found stuff at Ollie's too, but Ollie's has been pretty stagnant of late. They are still sitting on Marvel Legends, Eternals, some of the Black Panther Wakanda Forever figures. They are still sitting on a lot of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness stuff. Couple random What If figures, like not many. Last year they had a pretty decent selection. They had some of the Age of Apocalypse Series 2. I think that's what they had. But some of the stuff is sold through. Star Wars stuff. Again, it's all stuff from like, I think 2021 through maybe like early 2023, maybe late 2022. When it comes to G.I. Joe Classified series, they've got a couple movie figures hanging around at most places. They've got a couple of the random, like from that, Lady J, Tomac, Zaymot, Stalker, like, from that era of Classified. So Ollie's seems to be stuck too, because places are just not Hasbro, Mattel are not producing stuff in the numbers that they were a few years ago. And so I think Ollie seems to be getting, not as much action figure merchandise. I mean, obviously the store has plenty of other stuff, but, we're not here to talk about home goods and books and, discounted crackers and things. So, but Ross is getting crazy stuff. So I will say in the last couple months, I've bought a couple of the Bandai Band Presto One Piece statues there. And what's funny is some of them I've bought, and I've walked next door to a GameStop, and GameStop was selling them for $35, and I got them for like, 17, 18 at Ross. One of them I bought, and then I went to, I looked at somewhere online, and the statue was still on pre-order. So, there's a manufacturing date on the bottom of some of those One Piece statues, and it was like a manufacturing date of August 2025. So that thing was super new. So I have no idea. Maybe it was a return. Maybe it was like an Amazon return or something, or a return from somewhere else. I don't know. But Ross is the place to go right now. I'm sure there's probably folks who are going there to stock up their online store or their, collectible shop as well. But I found some cool stuff at Ross. I have seen some of the NECA Universal monsters, which I have them all, unfortunately, or most of them. Bought them as they came out, but I have seen some there. Some of the variants are there as well. Some of the glow in the dark ones are there, and the prices are really good. Bought a couple of the Star Wars retro carded figures, like the little ones that are actually like the Kenner style, like $2. Just something that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Be cool to have like Sabine on the shelf or something, retro Sabine, or I can't remember who else I bought. I might have bought Hera as well. So neat stuff. Check them out right now. So anyways, anybody else finding good deals at Ross? The one I keep looking for, I guess you might say my white whale right now, is the McFarlane Joker set from the Todd Phillips directed Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. McFarlane did this crazy expensive, because it's two figures and like a backdrop and then some little prop replica kind of things. And I swear it was $250. I'm actually looking it up because I don't really remember the full price, but I think it was $200. I think it was $250. It looks like you can actually order it now from Big Bad for like $175. But yeah, when McFarlane put this up, it was $250. My understanding is that Warner Brothers had in some sort of a contract or licensor deal or something that Joker merchandise based on that Was it 2019? Is that when Joker came out? Based on that Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, had to be sold at a certain price point. So McFarlane, to make it happen, had to sell a set for $250. That's my understanding. I think the same thing with, like, if they did Hot Toys, or somebody did like a Sideshow, did like a premium format, it was to make sure that anything sold for that movie was at a very high level where there was no mistaking that it was a toy intended for kids. Remember, I mean, Warner Brothers did go through the whole thing where they weren't allowing their licenses to licensed merchandise to have guns. So, like, for a while, some of the Batman figures didn't even come with grappling guns or gas guns or anything. But people have found that, and it's not just one person, it's multiple people have reported finding that set at Ross. Again, I have no idea how it ended up at Ross. If cases of them got sent back somewhere, somebody ordered cases and returned it, but people have found them, and I think they said like for $20 or something. And it's just a black box too. I mean, it's not real clear what's even in it if you were just a passerby. So yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to Ross. So I will say I have not seen a G.I. Joe Classified Series figure at Ross's. But now if you're online, if something comes out and people are wanting to, oh, it's not going to sell, they'll say, oh, that's a RossCon exclusive. But there's no consistency. I'm not seeing a lot of consistency at Ross, but maybe there is. But I'm seeing maybe things from the same companies, but not like, whole cases of the same figure. So anyways, Ollie's Ross right now. Ross is the place to, it's not their tagline, is it? Ross is the place to be. It's not like an advertising thing for them, is it? Because I was about to say Ross is the place to be, but it sounds like it might be. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen a Ross TV commercial, but maybe I have, and it's just like embedded that phrase in my brain. That would be really weird. Ross is the place to be. Ross is the place to look right now if you're looking for cheap toys. My child is looking at me. Would you like to introduce him? So we've talked about. Do you want to introduce? Oh, okay. All right. I have a special guest right now. I've talked about him real quick. Right from the set of the DC movies. This is Crypto. So this is Crypto. Hey, Crypto. How are you? This is our new dog, Crypto. We still have Zoe, our dog who does the toy reviews on Halloween and throughout the year sometimes. Hey, buddy, how you doing, man? What's going on, Mr. Crypto? Anyways, this is Mr. Crypto. He is a really cute dog. Hey, Crypto says hi to everybody. We actually rescued him from the same rescue group we got Zoe from back in early 2020. One of our dogs passed, and we went and got Zoe and didn't know that she would be our pandemic puppy. That wasn't intended, but she was. And then, she wasn't a puppy either. She's about 2 years old when we got her. About a year and a half, wasn't she? Yeah, a year and a half. Crypto's 3 at least. So he's a mature dog. He's a very good dog. He's a very chill dog. Smart. He's a very smart dog too.
He's very jealous. He will slap us if we're not giving him pets.
Yeah, if you're not petting him, he starts like pawing at us and stuff. So, but we saw a picture of him and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy looks just like Crypto. You want to look at? Can you look at the camera? Can you look, Mr. Crypto? Can you look? Crypto. He's just really chill right now. Yeah, here you go, buddy. You want to take it back? Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, Lord.
I meant for Crypto to guest star on the show at one point. Everybody say bye to Crypto.
Okay, he's not.
He's chill right now, man. He's like the most mellow dog. Like, he wants to like be around everybody, and he's super cool. So, anyways, so we were talking about Ross. We're talking about Ollie's. Right now, prices of figures going up, man. I can't knock anybody who plays the game of, looking and waiting, especially for stuff that's from, Hasbro, Mattel. I mean, even to an extent, NECA. I saw a lot of NECA figures this week. A lot of Alfs. I have an Alf. Bought an Alf when they first came out, but I saw a bunch of Alf figures at Ross. So I don't, right now with stuff coming out, I mean, I think unless it's something from like a very specialty, a toy company that only sells online, some of those, if you miss them, I mean, you're going to pay out the nose later on. But most stuff from mass retailers, man, you're going to find it. It's probably going to get on sale at some point. I know with G.I. Joe stuff, I pre-order it. I want it as soon as it comes out. I do. X-Men stuff, 90% of the time, I want as it comes out. But a lot of stuff, man, I'm starting to play that long game. So, and if you find some stuff at Ross, save a couple dollars. Not bad right now. So, anyways, all right. Question for folks here. If you're watching, I'm curious, who has heard of Ninjombies? Ninjombies, yes. It is a portmanteau. Is that the right way to say it? It is a juxtaposition of the name Ninja and Zombies, and these are from MGA Toys. And I've been seeing these for at least a month now, but I've now seen them big displays at Walmart, big displays at Target, and these are a new toy. Now, granted, these are not geared towards collectors. These are not geared towards, if you're watching this, these are not geared towards us, but they are ninja zombies that have slime and their arms shoot off and their limbs are swappable in places, and they have a truck that has a giant like dinosaur or dragon skull on the front. I don't know. They look like something that would have been the hard toy to get in like a Christmas episode of a sitcom. Like a lot of sitcoms and stuff in the 90s, would always have these, random toys that were trying to almost like a parody of like the popularity of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or the one I always remember is Dave's World, the show with Harry Anderson. They had Cannibal Cavemen was like their hot Christmas toy that the kids wanted or something. But I have seen these everywhere and started looking into them. Apparently they're popular. Ninjombies. So I looked, and you can find some articles on them from like Bleeding Cool News, and MGA themselves has some stuff on them. People have reviewed them back in September, so they're not new, but it seems like maybe retailers are really pushing them. They have the open packaging, so you can go in the store and pretty much like, touch the toy and kind of mess around with the toy a little bit before you buy it, which is kind of a hallmark of kids' toys. I guess they think that's really gonna, kids go in there and see them, so see them, touch them a little bit, and then already kind of start developing a bond to them. But I'm just curious if you know anything about Ninjombies, if you're like somebody who's been collecting these at this point, which I never begrudge someone who collects a toy that looks like a toy. That's kind of a weird subset of toy collecting, isn't it? Like, there are toy lines that the whole thing is like, oh, they don't look like toys. They're not toys. If you buy any McFarlane stuff these days, I mean, it literally says on it, like, you can go to the store and buy like a Superman action figure, and it's got like written on it real big, this is not a toy, which is, kind of funny. Like, oh man, here's a Superman. He's got crypto with him. Oh, this is cool. What is this? This is not a toy. So they want you to know that, like NECA stuff is like, oh, it's super realistic. It's got all these heads that look exactly, like Lon Chaney Sr. And, this figure is based on the Phantom of the Opera. This is a 100-year-old, classic of black and white cinema. And sometimes we just buy toys that are like, man, this is absolutely very, very toyish. So it's cool to see toys, though, that are out there that we are not the primary audience for, that actually look like action figures. Because sometimes it does feel like, man, Walmart stocks Masters Universe or Masterverse, I mean, they're cool toys. They're really cool. Masterverse is a pretty neat line, but I don't know if kids are lining up to play with those. The Masters Universe, the Netflix-based line, I think those were clearly designed to walk the line between being very, very kid-friendly and targeted, and, also being something that collectors were going to buy because they were Masters of the Universe. And, but it's cool to see something like this that's very, very, very geared towards kids. So I don't know. I was walking through the store today. We had to, go to the store real quick, and my daughter and my wife's out of town. Last week I didn't stream. My wife lost her grandfather last week. So, that was sad, but man, he was 100 years old. He was 100 years old. he was sharp up until the end as well. So what a blessing. But my wife went up there with her parents, and we're going to be meeting them soon, out of town, for Thanksgiving. So, but I'm around 13, still got school. I still had work and responsibilities to do. So that's last week, though. They were kind of coming and going, and things have been a little bit busy, a little bit chaotic lately. So we were out at the store today buying random stuff, cereal, eyeglasses, paper towels. But we were walking through toys and saw the Ninjombies, and my daughter jumped on there, and Master Mike says, yeah, kids don't seem to play with toys much anymore. So you don't see as many toy lines that do seem targeted towards an older demographic. And when I say older demographic, I don't know. I mean, granted, I'm a 42-year-old guy who's still talking about action figures. So I don't remember ever not buying action figures in some shape, fashion, or form. But like in 6th grade, I remember it's like pretty common for, a couple boys get together and talk about Exo Squad. Like Exo Squad was kind of cool, or some people collected Star Trek figures, and I was like in 7th or 8th grade. I mean, people are talking. We're saying collect, like, oh yeah, I collect Spawn. I still do think people were like at least kind of collecting stuff and interested in it. And I am not sure what kids are super playing with these days, but I don't know. These ones struck me as maybe being something different, and who knows? Maybe there's a big push for them, and we don't hear about Ninjombies anymore. But I saw them, and I was a little bit excited. I thought they were kind of neat. They were colorful, but they had an edge to them. I mean, they're ninja zombies. They got limbs that pop off, and slime comes out, and I mean, they're kind of cool. They're obviously targeted to kids. There's something I could see some kids showing their mom, and mom's kind of like, and that's a win if you're a kid playing with an action figure and, your mom doesn't like it. I mean, that's kind of cool. I remember being I really got back into collecting McFarlane stuff when I was in high school, because I was super into the Evil Dead movies, and I was really excited that McFarlane was doing an Ash figure. I really went through a phase where I wanted to watch anything that had Samuel L. Jackson in it. I mean, still a fantastic actor. But I was really into Shaft, like the old, the old movies and the Samuel L. Jackson one. And I was really excited that McFarlane did Shaft. And it's crazy to think that you bought that on the shelf at Walmart. So, hey, figuratively speaking's on here. Hello. Glad to have you on board tonight. But anyways, I remember I bought Ash, I bought Shaft. I'm like, I want some bad guys. I want some bad guys for Ash to fight. So I remember buying Leatherface, and my mom was horrified. My mom was horrified at this figure, that I bought something in the, it's got a head and a barrel and, a bloody chainsaw. And, I was old enough to go and buy it with some of my own money. Probably not old enough to drive to the store yet, but, I don't know. I kind of felt like that was a win, that my mom thought this figure was awful and stuff. Funny fact. So for a couple years, I did have Action Figure Barbecue did have monetization through Google AdSense. I think it was a year or so. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I got flagged for the McFarlane movie. Oh my gosh. Movie Maniacs Leatherface that I was just talking about. It got flagged, that review, and it said if I want to continue doing AdSense, I had to take it down. And so I just quit AdSense. So I have never done ads. I've had a couple times people have sent me stuff, and I've reviewed it fairly and honestly, and always marked that it was something I received. But anyways, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you there, figuratively speaking. So but anyways, yeah, so Leatherface from McFarlane's Movie Maniacs was the figure that got me undone from Google AdSense. So let's get back to what we're talking about. So Ninjombies, but just curious, yeah, I don't see a whole lot of stuff that, Spider-Man, I mean, all these kids I know from, friends' kids and kids from church and stuff, I mean, Batman does seem to be legitimately is just kids of a younger age will still be super interested in those, but I don't know. I guess I kind of hope the Ninjombies catch on because I think they're just crazy enough. I mean, again, what I love if kids were like, I want G.I. Joe classified. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But those are clearly not marketed towards kids. Kids are, I don't know. I mean, very few kids I think are going to be super fascinated in those, or parents are going to be like wanting to pay $25 for, or now $28, depending on where you're at, for like a G.I. Joe classified figure. But Ninjombies. So anybody else see anything crazy at the store lately that's new that seems to be, like what they're pushing for? I see a ton of Skibbity toilet stuff. I know what it is. I've seen like clips of it. We had the whole Skibbity thing at the house like last year. That was, this is Skibbity. Other stuff with Sigma, and I hear like doors now. So I think my Skibbity Sigma Rizzler. Yeah, okay. The other one right now. Here we go. Ohio Riz. We'll get the kids pumped up here right now. 6'7". All right, there we go. I did that. So 6'7". There you go. All right, watch the door. I have a middle schooler, so I do have a little bit of a. Hey, question for you.
What?
All right, official middle schooler representative. You represent all middle schoolers. Do kids at your school?
Yes.
Do any of them collect anything? Like, are they interested in any kind of like action figures still, or anything, or not? Is there stuff that's
they collect baby Jesuses and ducks,
like the rubber ducks?
No,
like the rubber ducks.
Old plastic ducks and these little mini colorful Jesuses.
Okay, so apparently the little mini Jesuses, which I see a lot at cash registers and stuff, those little mini Jesuses and little plastic ducks are really popular.
I mean, if you're talking about like individual people, I guess some people have different hobbies.
Yeah, that's what I'm just curious if there's anything.
General,
I'm just curious if there's anything. Like when I was in middle school, everybody's like, "Oh man, people are like collecting Spawn." Yeah, back in my day, back in my day. I'm just drinking some kombucha.
No, I said he's going to.
I'm good. Crypto? Sorry, Crypto does have a bad habit. If there is like a food or drink on the table, he will try to get on the table, the coffee table, and walk across. He thinks that's okay right now. So anyways, hey folks, see lots of other folks on here right now popping in. Glad to have you. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, when I go to the toy aisle right now, I see lots of girl stuff. So my folks are rating me. They're rating me? Reading me? I don't know. All right. Well, we've talked about stuff that's so talked about Ninjombies, my completely uneducated take on them, but oh no, they're cool. Look them up next time. So, cool. All right. Glad to have everybody there. So, yeah, if you're watching with multiple people, if there's a way to notate that, man, that makes me feel better. It makes me feel a lot better. So, last thing I want to talk about real quick. I just, I don't know if anybody else collect Action Force by Valaverse. So I really like Action Force. I'm a big fan. Hey, lots of people from Bill's channel. So glad to have you all here. So I like the Action Force line. And now, obviously, I think the biggest reason I collected is because it nicely supplements G.I. Joe, and the weapons are incredible. The Action Force weapons are like the best. I know people like Gridiron Studios. I've bought a couple things from Gridiron Studios, but I don't want to take out a loan or anything. Gridiron Studios stuff is definitely very nice, very expensive, but I'm glad they're doing the weapons for the Big Bad Toy Store Fresh Monkey Fiction Operation Monster Force, because they do really nice work. But man, Action Force has I think the best kind of meaning of their weapons are really, really high quality, and they're really, really affordable. And that's a really nice thing. So, but even if you don't have any Action Force figures, man, buy some of the accessory packs for them. I mean, you will get stuff that is crazy, but they just released this really cool rocket launcher. And, it's got like a big, heavy case to store it in. And actually it's got like the forward, the missile coming out, but it also has like the back blast as well. Cool stuff. Oh, somebody said boss fight. I've got my first boss fight figures on the way. The only thing from boss fight I've ever had before is at some point I bought one or two of the Bucky O'Hare figures, and I originally bought them because I thought they would look good with Masters of the Universe Classics, and I think I thought they were a little too small, and so I sold them. But I have some of the, I bought the 1/12, I don't know, there's a name for the line. I bought a set from them that has Red Sonja, and then it has like a skeleton that has a pumpkin head and something else, a skeleton pirate. So I ordered from Amazon through Boss Fight's Amazon store, and they're on the way. So those will be the first Boss Fight collectibles, Boss Fight Studios things I've had since that Bucky O'Hare. So the first things I've ever had in 1/12 scale as well. So 1/12 collective is cool. I actually got my first 1/12 collective figure that I've bought in a couple years. I can't remember the last time I bought one that I kept. Maybe Harley Quinn. When they did the Harley Quinn figures, they did like 2 different versions, but I actually got the Nosferatu black and white. So I'll be reviewing him at some point soon. But anyways, Valaverse just did a drop, some cool stuff. I've got here real quick the that light's not gonna let me show it real great, but backpack set Bravo. So it's a set of 5 different backpacks and stuff for the Valaverse figures. But one thing that was interesting, this is going to be like kind of my closing for the day, is Valaverse stuff is obviously like really cutting edge, and someone said that the weapons are super accurate. Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean, you can really go on and match them to real firearms and stuff. And I mean, there's definitely some more interesting firearms they choose. It's not just all like simple. Like not everything's an M4 and a 50 caliber Desert Eagle pistol or something. I mean, they really go out and do some interesting firearms. So you kind of learn about different stuff. But one thing I thought was interesting was with the Classified series, I just got the set of Steeler and Short Fuse. I'm behind in my G.I. Joe reviewing. I'm trying to catch up because Hasbro just keeps like sending stuff out and out and out and out. And it's tough to catch up with it all. But something that was interesting was I'm looking at this set of Steeler and Short Fuse, and Short Fuse has this like old school mortar launcher with him. And they just showed off Zap. And Zap has a really old school missile launcher that's almost akin to a bazooka, which would have been outdated in 1982 when the original Real American Hero line came out. So one thing that's interesting to me is how Hasbro will do a figure like Tripwire. I think Tripwire is an excellent example of a figure where they have updated him to feel modern. He feels like one of the guys, that's a current EOD operative or tech or whatever the term would be. I mean, he feels like someone who's very, very modern. I thought they've updated some of the other original 12. Grunt feels like a really good update for original 12. Original 13. Grunt feels like a good update in the G.I. Joe line. He's got the, I think they call it the Android Tactical Assault Kit. It's actually like a special, Android device that folds down. Grunt feels like a more modern figure. Tripwire was clumsy. It was funny in the comics. He was clumsy with everything else except explosives. And gosh, do y'all remember the Hearts and Minds comic where, Tripwire had, I think he'd lost maybe his fiance or his girlfriend in some kind of a explosion. And so like when he would go into to defuse something, he'd almost go into like this just, kind of like state of euphoria where he's imagining like, what if I do get blown up, and kind of being back with her. But he just is so calm. Then he diffuses things. It was pretty cool. It was just different take. So, but anyways, it's weird to me how Hasbro will go and they will completely update a figure, make them feel like super fresh, super modern, like, man, this guy's wearing the cutting edge stuff. And then they'll give Zap like a bazooka. You know, like I don't mind somebody having like a super, you know, someone carrying a Colt single action army or something. That's kind of a character trait, you know, carrying like a super old pistol or something. But someone using like a 100+ year old rocket launcher is kind of like, that's weird. I don't know. I feel like with the original 13, Hasbro's done a really good job up to this point, but Short Fuse and Zap feel a little bit outdated to me. And also, when you know, I just got all this Valiverse stuff in just dropped, and man, they put some really high-tech stuff in there. So I kind of wish Hasbro would update their stuff a little bit more. 90% of the stuff I'm super happy with, but sometimes it's like they want to be so accurate to the vintage line that they give them stuff that's like super outdated, and I'm kind of like, man, things like, you know, World War II era. You know, we're not talking about one person who uses a Tommy gun as like a character trait or something. So Tripwire was funny. Man, yeah, Beachhead. I love the fact that part of Beachhead's actual character is like he doesn't wear deodorant. Like he's just apparently has like really poor personal hygiene. It's pretty funny. So anyways, yeah, that's me whining about some of the G.I. Joe figures coming out with outdated equipment. But if you pick up stuff from other lines, you can definitely kind of supplement that. So I'm getting ready to wrap up. This was the I know I missed last week, but I'm back on track. And so I really appreciate all of you folks coming out here and commenting and having a good time. And I love talking about action figures. If you have anything you want to suggest as a topic for a future episode, you can leave it in the comments. If you're listening this at a future time, still go back, leave it in the comments. And again, check out actionfigurebarbecue.com, where I am serving up reviews hot and fresh daily. And again, this is Jerry, aka Barbecue17. And I hope you guys all have a good evening. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Hope everyone has safe travels. And if you go to Ross, I hope you find something really, really good. So take care. And thanks, everyone.